Hello, and welcome to the Believers Lounge podcast. I am your host, John, and I am joined by my co-host, Michael. How are you doing today, Michael?
I'm doing well. Very good. Thanks, John. I see that I've been relegated to co-host now.
Yes, I had a meeting.
With you and yourself and I?
Yes, the vote was unanimous.
The vote was unanimous. Very nice.
So, very cold day today. I don't know if that was just the weather or the fact that it was Inauguration Day. I don't know.
Weather-wise, it's in our area, it's been really cold. The coldest it's been this year. But I mean, when you think of, January, February in Canada, you generally think of the low temperatures and such. I would think, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
and we're not even at the really low part of the winter yet.
No. And we're pretty south in Canada, too. So, I mean, Winnipeg, Edmonton...
Oh, yeah, they're feeling
the territories, they're definitely feeling it. Yeah.
So, today, I believe we are going to be talking about Community. Now, it was a great show, about 7 characters at a college. Am I getting ahead of myself here?
You might be on the wrong podcast for that one.
Yes, thank you, Dan Harmon.
6 seasons in a movie.
Which, apparently, we are going to get the movie, just don't know when.
Are we actually getting the movie?
I've read it, and that there is a movie, there's a script, and I don't know if they've started production yet.
Interesting. We'll have to keep our eyes peeled on more information there. Yeah.
Yes. But we digest. Yes, Community in a Christian setting, Christian community, the importance of community, not just inside the church, but also outside.
That's right. We're going to look at and just talk about community in general and the different ways that looks like, and kind of talk through the question as to why is it important as well. So I look forward to our conversation about it. So why is community so important? If we can kind of talk through that question very briefly, and we can kind of go into some of the other facets of community that we were thinking of. But personally, if you have to kind of look at that question, if someone came to you, and while we're primarily going to be looking at this from a Christian perspective, you can argue that it's important in all aspects, right?
Yeah, we'll look at it almost historically, look at it culturally. We're not really built to be alone. Now there are groups that have secluded themselves and choose to be apart. You can think of the Amish and certain other tribes that are remote that have not technically joined modern society, but we as humans, we group together. So we're almost built, we're designed to be a part of a community in some form or fashion. Yeah, think of the earliest civilizations. You could think of the Egyptians, Babylonians, even all of the earlier tribes that formed in Canaan. There wasn't just, there's, a couple people over here, there's a couple people way over there. and we all just keep to ourselves and don't bother with each other. No, we come together and form communities. We're social beings. Like, even if you would consider yourself an introvert, you don't necessarily become a hermit. You still need some form of community, and it starts with the family.
Excuse me. Yes, it does.
Now, I'm no socialist or sociologist. Just my random brain thoughts.
I mean, that's totally okay. I don't know how many times we've had the
disclaimer. We are not experts in anything.
No, we're just two guys talking about what comes to mind and things that we've read and we've done research on. And so if you're listening, to you, the listener, thank you for listening to two guys just talking about what's on their mind. Anyway, to answer your question, not really a question, but to go off on what you're saying there. Yeah, community, as we can see, and everyone has a basic understanding, I believe, that we all need each other. We were created by God not to be alone. And there's different examples of that. But really, at the end of the day, community is so vital to us because it's a multi-directional relationship. We're giving to others are giving to us, and both those directions can happen and can be different if it's just, let's say, between myself and you, or myself and you and one other, myself and a group. Like, and it's not just based on numbers. Again, I hope I'm not going off on a rabbit trail here, but really, at the end of the day, there's so much to unpack about that. Just a little scholarly side note here. The Oxford Dictionary. Now, not to digress. Usually you hear the Webster's Dictionary. So maybe the Oxford one will tell me something different. Anyway, Oxford Dictionary defines community as a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. It can also be defined as a group of people living in the same place, of course, or having a particular characteristic in common. Which kind of leads me to communities based on common interests. We call them clubs, we call them social outings, right? Whether they're targeting a certain demographic, like let's say if you go to a church and you hear men's Bible study, men's breakfast, seniors luncheon, women's lunch or tea or Bible study or whatever, right? Based on demographic and gender, whereas, they have knitting clubs and things like that. I don't really have to give examples. You all know what I'm talking about. But, but anyway, just to illustrate the point there, right? So, what, in relation, if you want to keep talking about just community in general before we kind of dive into the other, I can't not think of words right now. I apologize. Until we dive into the other sections. What do you, John, what do you personally value from community? When you think of the communities that you're involved in, what's something about that makes you a better person? I guess you can kind of look at it that way if you want. Or what makes you like a better person with that community? What's something that from that you find valuable to yourself?
Yeah, well, the main thing is support. And I mean that more emotional support. I'm a part of a group of men that get together once a week, and basically we just kind of support each other in our daily lives. Some of us suffer from depression. Some of us suffer from other mental health issues. So, yeah, we just get together and we support one another and make sure, that everyone's doing okay. And if someone's not doing okay, we talk it through. So, yeah, I definitely value the support from others, because the worst thing you can do, say in regards to mental health, is suffer alone, suffer in silence. So, I mean, if that's someone out there, don't be too afraid to reach out for help. It is out there and it does wonders. Not in the first 2 or 3 meetings with some other people, because it's very hard to talk about yourself, depending on the person, but after a while, you do realize it's a very rewarding and helpful thing to talk to other people about what's going on in your life.
Just like relationships with others as well. There's certain things in life that don't happen overnight. In fact, a lot of the healthy habits and the characteristics of growth we see over time, right? And so I definitely echo what you're saying there. Yeah, it's good. It's good to be with others. There is more support in numbers, and it's important to be able to connect, depending on whatever is going on, right? No matter who you are, no matter if you're introverted and you feel like, oh, my interest or who I am won't connect with anyone out there. No, especially as Christians, we're called to be in community with one another. I know for myself, I find it very rewarding when trying to think here, doing acts of service for others. I find it very rewarding being in a community where I can help out wherever needed, and then I can get, whether it's the same thing in return or something different. Not all the time it's going to be the same thing that you receive back when you give, right? But at the end of the day, it's really rewarding. And me personally, like, I'm the kind of person who, if I'm not with others for extended periods of time, I go stir crazy, because it's like, which might be interesting to note that I'm actually an introvert, but I love being with people and helping people out in certain certain groups, mind you. So, anywho,
yep. No, if you want a good slogan for a T-shirt, should say, "Me and my brain should not be left unsupervised." But
does someone have that? Can we use that? Anyway, really quickly, if you want T-shirts, contact us. Okay, very good. Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to make that quick plug. I'm sorry, it wasn't the right time, but I'm sorry. Yeah, so community is important, really. But it's important for many different aspects. And specifically Christian community. It provides us a place to grow in an environment where we can serve others, where we can heal from habits and hang-ups and things of that nature. And our faith can even grow too when we're with other believers. Because, in Acts, we're told that the believers met in houses, and their little groups weren't like really big compared to our mega churches and things that we have today, right? So, but they were just in fellowship and community with each other, right? And Christian community, it's a way to live out our values that we believe in, right? So, just really quickly, just a few things that I want to encourage our listeners. If you're not a part of a Christian community, a church, or something like that, it's important, I think. And I think more than just being important, like, it's kind of a requirement. Like, don't think that, it's optional whether you go in church. Now, I'm going to say something kind of controversial here. So, John, prepare yourself. I'm a firm believer in, now that COVID's over and we're back to in-person church, unless the situation is extreme, you have no excuse to not go to in-person church.
Yeah, if
you are able to, right? That's the key thing. If you are able to, then go in person. It's so much more rewarding. You can actually be in community with others, right?
Exactly. That's what I was going to mention.
I was just sorry to cut you off there. I just wanted to clear the air there, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, you do get to hear, let's say, the message, the sermon online. But yeah, like you said, you don't get that community with other believers. You can't be a closet Christian.
No, and it's really easy to sometimes, especially in today's culture.
Yeah. Now, what a good resource, live streaming church services is, you can go back later during the week, re-listen to the sermon. You don't have to get the sermon on tapes or on cassettes anymore.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Like, I remember we had a big binder full of cassettes of sermons. Especially at the Reformed Church. All the sermons were recorded, and but they're all on cassettes, and you needed your cassette player. Who even has cassette players anymore?
I mean, the people that are a part of the vintage or retro associations, I guess. Although I would not call those vintage or retro. Yeah. They're much too new. But
now we're not ripping on live streaming your church services.
No, not at all.
Because especially like if you have a baptism in the family, and you live a couple hours away from,
for sure,
that church, you don't have to try and get yourself to that church to witness it. Now, I mean, of course, you want to go witness it, that's by all means, but it makes it a lot easier with live streaming, that a lot more people have the opportunity to witness it.
And also to mention, like, God's not going to do less because you're watching a church service online. Like it's, what
we're saying, like, as we mentioned before, it's for the community aspect of it. I know our church, whenever we do communion, you can go up to the front at the end of the service and have the elders pray over you. You can bring your needs both before the Lord and to the elders, and they'll pray for you. Hard to get that online.
Yes, it is. So the benefits. What are exactly the benefits of Christian community? Well, we have a few points here, and I think again this really should be all either common sense or understandable to most people. But again, just quite simply, why be a part of Christian community? And that's not only going in person to church, but being a part of other Christian communities as well. But you can even apply this to the communities that you're involved in. You know what I mean? Like every relationship that we have and community that we're involved in is an evangelistic opportunity. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a guns out blazing, hey, have you heard about Jesus? Although, by all means, like, that's okay. But sometimes it's the relationship. It's the getting to know one, others serving. And you do a lot of this stuff when you're, or I should say you do a lot of this stuff better sometimes when you're connected into communities.
Mm-hmm. Yep. For more on that, check out our missions episodes.
Yes. Recommend you go take a listen to those for sure. But yeah, so how can we experience Christian community? Well, like we mentioned, we find Christian community to be a good sense of encouragement. Whether you need reassurance, whether you're going through a hard time,
that's where groups like Grief Share come into play. I know that's one of the programs that our church offers. And I've never been to it myself, but I know several people who have. I know my grandmother and my mother have both been a part of it, and I've heard and seen that it does help quite a bit in getting through grief.
Oh, for sure.
Which also leads into the second point of healing. Not just like mental healing. Also, it could be physical healing if you're part of a prayer group. You can ask for prayer over physical ailments. And I see on our little cheat sheet here that we have. I see we have it here worded, help heal each other from sin and learn from mistakes. So just to say the thing that maybe say what we're not saying is, we don't save each other from our sins. That's only God saves us from our sin and can forgive sin. But what I think we mean here is we can help encourage one another through our like getting through our sinful traits. For example, addiction. If you have an addiction and you're part of a community that can help get you through this addiction, or even if it's a sin of, say, gossip, if you're one who tends to spread gossip a little bit more. If you're part of a community that knows that, and in a loving way can help you to stop spreading gossip, or like any other sin, you know, we don't have to bear our sins alone, if you will.
Well, for sure. I think there was a typo on our little cheat sheet here, so thanks for clarifying that. But yeah, it's really important to be able to have others to pray with you. You know, we're called to discipleship too, right? And again, it's you don't have to, bear this on your own. In fact, that's the whole basis of our relationship. Well, not the whole basis, but that's part of our relationship with God. You know, a famous hymn says, "Oh, what needless pain we bear, all because we do not carry everything to God in prayer." Which, I mean, sums it up pretty much as good as I could have.
Yeah.
Or better, I mean, as I could have, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, for example, myself, I can think of a time where I was really struggling with sin, and it had been going on for 4 or 5 days. And then I was at work, and I was getting a ride home with one of our guys, who also happened to go to my church, and I just shared it with him. And when we pulled in the driveway, he's just like, "Hey, I'm just gonna pray for you right now, if you don't mind." And yeah, he prayed for me, and I don't know, not immediately, but that evening I already felt the effects take hold, as to where I wasn't feeling all that guilt that comes with the sin.
Yeah.
And yeah, it really helped. That prayer really does help.
So good to have people be around, be with people, be around people, be connected to people who support you, and then you can support others as well too. That's the whole point, right? Like, we weren't meant to go through this Christian life alone.
Yeah.
Like, and that's really, not to digress too much, but that's really one of the characteristics of this podcast and what we do, right?
Yeah.
We realize that, the Christian life is not something to just go on it your own, right? And so, and that leads us actually really nicely into our third point, is support. Christians, we can provide support to each other, like we just talked about, whether it's support of our presence and anything else in terms of the physical nature. Whenever there's a physical act needing to be done, helping a senior go get groceries, or again, if you this is more of a specific example, but babysitting a child, or there's so many different things, right?
One that we actually just started at our church not too long ago, I think, is Meals for New Moms.
That's awesome. The church I went in when I was growing up in Niagara, the church I went to actually started a meals, not for moms, but for anyone who needed it once a week.
Yeah, like a Meals on Wheels.
Something, yeah, exactly. And that was actually started by one of the youth in my youth group.
Right.
They headed that up with the support of the church, of course. But sorry, it just reminded me of that.
Right.
But yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
And as well, like you shared, we can pray for each other, because, my goodness, like, if you stop and think about it, prayer should be mind blowing. It really should be. The fact that we can talk to God,
Yeah.
and the fact that He listens.
And you don't have to be very eloquent in your praying. You don't have to really know exactly what you're saying. It doesn't have to be well thought out. It doesn't have to be articulated just so. Which, if you're listening to our podcast episodes, you know we are not the type of people who can articulate just so.
I think you articulate that better than I would. So
It's funny, I can articulate about articulating, but anything else,
it's like me when we're not recording the podcast. I can have a full blown conversation, talk somewhat professionally, and then I get in front of a mic and I start to and on. But yeah, for the more the different types of prayer and kind of our discussions on that, we have 2 episodes on prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Would encourage you to go listen to that if you'd like to hear our discussion on that.
Yeah.
But
And just in case we didn't mention this on those episodes, what I immediately think of with praying is from Fiddler on the Roof. Rev Tevye is just walking along.
You did mention this,
yeah,
actually.
just walking along with this. I think it was a cow. Just looking up, talking to God. It's not this. It's not the typical, eyes closed, hands folded, praying to God. Which, I mean, there's something to be said for doing that too. You fold your hands, close your eyes, really, focus on who you're talking to.
That's right.
You can't have kind of that, almost casual conversation, talking with God, but then there's also that aspect of reverence.
Yes, exactly.
Because, I mean, you think, you wouldn't exactly talk that way to the Queen, or maybe the president. I don't know about the current president, if you want to talk to him like that, but you're talking to the master of the universe here. The one who created us.
That's right.
But then, you also want to talk to him as, as your father.
We've actually been given a real good template. One of the sermons I've heard recently was on the Lord's Prayer, and again, we won't get into it too much here, but I was just reminded of how much there is to actually unpack from the Lord's Prayer.
Oh yeah, we did.
Jesus, not only how we can pray, or because the disciples asked, "Lord, show us how to pray," but in the Lord's Prayer, He shows us almost the order of how we look at events. We focus on God first, our Father who art in heaven. We focus on God, who He is, and what He does, and right, the whole thing. I'm not saying it as eloquently as the pastor said it, but and then so on and so forth from there. So anyway, that's such a great example. But moving on.
Yeah, moving on. Yeah, we have discipleship next, which great example in the 4 Gospels. with Jesus and his disciples. Other examples in the New Testament with Paul. Paul had his disciples. Main one I could think of is Timothy. But discipleship is typically, or in our more modern era, one-on-one. You may be able to have maybe 2 or 3 disciples, or 2 or 3 people you are discipling, but I think the one-on-one is a little bit better route to go, especially if you haven't discipled anyone before. Another movie I can think of that also deals with prayer, but also with discipleship, was War Room.
Just gonna say that.
You were yeah. We think alike, you and
yes,
I.
Yes, we do. We do.
Yeah, the lady not only reignites the main character's passion for God, reignites her prayer life. In doing so, she's discipling her. It's a great example,
and it's a great example of why we need that kind of community as well. We need, not only do we need the community of others and being invested in their, maybe weekly lives, but the community where we are being discipled and we are discipling someone else, but we are more intimately involved with those people.
That's exactly what I was just thinking. Getting together, I don't know, maybe once a week, every other week, but really kind of getting under the skin and saying, how are you doing? Like, and how are you doing? Like, how's your prayer life? How's your devotions going?
And dare I say it, they should be. It should be, what am I trying to say here? You should be able. You shouldn't be holding back much.
Yeah.
When in that one-on-ones, it should be maybe God, your spouse, and then the person you're discipling with what you're saying. Because, again, being honest is vital. If you're not honest about what's going on, how can you, be in genuine community with others? How can you have a loving relationship with others and God, right?
Yep.
And so it's important to have someone who's older than you, which I believe, again, this is my opinion, but I believe if you're being discipled by someone, it should be someone more mature in the faith,
and more mature in the face, yes.
But someone older than you, someone who has more life under their belt, right? And it's so rewarding being discipled, but then using the maturity and the wisdom that God's given you and your life experiences, and to be able to impart that to someone of a younger generation. It's, of course, any intimate relationship will be challenging, but it's so rewarding. And Satan, like the little bugger he is, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. What does the Bible say? The devil comes in to steal, kill, and destroy. And the one way he does that is by telling people that they need to be isolated. They don't need to be in community. And I'm sorry, but the Bible says otherwise. So, sorry about that. You're kind of outnumbered there, Mr. Devil. So, no, but you know what I mean? Like, there are so many supports, and discipleship is just one way for, not only your relationship with that person, but your spiritual life can get stronger, and it's so vital to be connected with others, right? So
yeah, it's definitely a two-way street. You are discipling someone else, but also in return, you get that encouragement back. I know with the man who was discipling me, he told me that he gets just as much out of our meetings as I did.
Oh yeah, it's such a great connection, and I would encourage and really tell anyone who's listening that if you're not discipling someone or being discipled, there's no excuse.
Yeah, go talk to your pastor,
to be involved
talk
in that.
to an elder.
Yes. If you think that your life is too messed up or you're not wise enough or whatever, no, you're not. You have unique life experience and something that God can use you to impart to somebody else. I truly believe that. And so I would recommend you go get involved with that, because it's important, again, to stay connected, right? So, sorry.
Yeah. And that I'll segue that right into our next topic of living out the gospel. That is literally discipling others. I'm going to kind of group this in with the other topic of witnessing, because that's living out the gospel as well.
It is, yes.
So yeah, just being out in your communities, loving others, because that's what it all comes down to, is loving our neighbors as ourselves, loving God through our witnessing, through our everyday lives, because that's true worship. I'll circle that around to our very first set of episodes. That's true worship.
It is, yes. Yeah, so community, as you can tell, and then again, this is just based off of our experiences and our notes and what we've kind of seen community being in our perspectives.
Yep, and we're only just shy of halfway through life.
Yeah,
we've still got the other half to learn more, and we'll come back in 40 years, and if podcasts are still a thing.
Yes, if they're still a thing, yeah. Exactly. What does community mean to you? We would like to know. Leave a comment, send us an email, whatever way works best for you. Let us know. Let us know what community means to you, because it's such a vital component of the Christian life that we can't leave this out. It's too important. We need to be connected with others. So we just encourage you to get involved with community. Well, thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope you've learned something new, been encouraged, or, whether you just listened to our opinions and thoughts.
And if you disagree, please let us know.
Yeah, we're no stranger to criticism. That's fine. It's healthy sometimes.
Well, yeah, I mean, we still need to learn too.
What are you trying to tell me, John? But yeah, please, again, please do let us know. Just a few housekeeping things to end off the episode here. And if you stay to the end, thank you. Oh my goodness, I feel like I'm on YouTube, which
we are on YouTube.
Yeah. We're still looking for a third person to join us. Looking for some help on the social media side. We kind of went through the rundown in our New Year's episode, but again, we're still looking for someone to help us out with the podcast and join our team. So again, if that's something that you might be interested in, our email is in the description, and just reach out to us. Again, if you want, you can follow us on Facebook. Our Facebook group is where you'll get the most updates as to what's going on with the podcast. And there is an Instagram coming. It's not up yet, but it's coming. So again, if you prefer using that platform, that's not a problem. Yeah,
yep.
That's pretty much it, I think, right?
Yep. Well, and the TikTok is coming up.
Oh,
wait, no, it's not.
Oh my goodness, John, I don't know if we have the time or... See, that would start to get controversial, eh? If we had to get into politics, right? So, I mean, stay tuned for the
Believers Lounge after the conversation. No.
I was thinking more of the Canadian Cafe, casual conversations about the political life. No, that doesn't really have a ring to it. No. I'm sorry, I get distracted. Anyways, sorry, we're all over the place here. Again, thank you for listening to our episode. We do really appreciate it. Again, let us know what you think. I have repeated these things so many times now that listeners are probably just like, Michael, we get it, okay? We get it. Stop talking.
Thank you, and good night.
You see... John, you get these segments from now on. You're just better at this. But seriously, thank you for taking the time to listen to today's episode, and we hope that today you experienced maybe learned a different way that community is important, and we hope that you have a great day, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care, everyone.